Do you still suck at doing lunges and you wanna know why? Stay tuned because this video is for you. Yo, what's a crack? Your personal trainer T-Talks, changing people's lives for the better through strength and fitness. Lunges are a great unilateral exercise that could appear in many programs as an accessory lift for bigger movements. Lunges work very similar muscle groups as the squat because a lunge is essentially a single leg squat moving back and forth. However, if we move away from the traditional muscle-only lenses when analyzing exercises, I would argue that lunges provide the athlete with a unique stimulus. Basically, because you need to have one leg in front of the other, and this running leg position puts you in a mechanically difficult place that is much harder for your body to stabilize. It is at this exact moment when you are the most vulnerable, the most unstable and weakest, that you get the most benefit out of this movement. And unfortunately, this is a part of the exercise that many noobs never capitalize on. Given that the 2 points of contact with the floor are far apart, there is a huge demand for stabilization on the sagittal plane, to a degree where the regular bipedal squat cannot compare to the single leg variant. Now you have to extend both at the knee and hip using half the muscle mass. If you are a sedentary person who is new to training, lunges in themselves are going to be already a challenging movement for you, even without the need of adding extra weight. As a result, many people cheat during the movement. The most common way of doing it is with their hands. The body is naturally going to offer you any compensatory strategy whenever it perceives weakness or instability. Therefore, many people bring muscle mass from somewhere else. So, what capacities or skills are people missing out on when they place their hands onto their quads or on the sides of their waist? The first one is that you are not letting the stabilizing strength of your muscles develop to their full potential. This is the ability of your muscles to create tension and sustain that tension in the form of a strong contraction to stabilize at the joints. Due to lunges being a compound movement, there are many joints involved. However, I'm going to focus primarily on the hip joint, where I tend to see the biggest issue with novice clients. Given the extremely sedentary lifestyle of the modern world, the vast majority of people have weak and tight muscles around the hip joint. When you sit down, all the musculature in this area shuts down because it is released from all duties. No need to support an upright position, no need to stay engaged for hip abduction, external rotation, flexion, extension, nothing. The overall weakness and underwhelming engagement of this part of the body typically leads to gluteal amnesia, also known as dead butt syndrome, which is the inability to activate the musculature of the glutes when you actually need it. When you take a step during lunges and notice that your legs become very unstable, this is a clear indication that the muscles around the hip are not firing properly. And this is the reason why noobs want to place their hands on their thighs so badly, because by doing so, they apply counteractive forces on the unstable area. Which means that they have to bring assistance from other muscle groups outside the legs and glutes, because the ones that are supposed to do the work are simply not up to the task. A similar thing occurs to an extent when you place your hands around your waist. You apply opposing forces through your arms to handle the instability that your core is meant to deal with. The musculature around your entire midsection is supposed to work to avoid side bending and anti-rotation to keep you upright and stable. Speaking of core, your spinal erectors on your back are also part of your midsection, and they are responsible for extending your spine, as the name indicates. By producing force against your thighs with your hands, you are not letting your core muscles do their job on their own. So at this point, it's pretty clear that lunges are not only a leg exercise like many people like to think. They are a lower body movement that heavily engages the glutes and the core muscles in order to meet a high demand for stabilization both at the hips and at the spine. So by using your hands, you essentially minimize the rate at which you get the full spectrum of benefits from performing lunges on a regular basis. Furthermore, when you place your hands on your body, you're also missing out on making any improvements on your coordination. But more on that later. And to be entirely honest, I completely understand where the confusion comes from. There is no such a thing as a standard form for bodyweight lunges. If you run a quick search on Google, you'll see pictures showing the arms in various positions. The same thing happens if you look for lunge tutorials here on YouTube. And from a muscle building perspective, they're all equally as good. Hand placement is not a big deal.
But from a coordination as well as stabilization point of view, I'd argue that the arm running type is much better. Okay, so what should you do if you want to get the full benefit of what lunges have to offer?
What I'm about to show you seems to have worked pretty well for clients who have displayed this unilateral stabilizing weakness during lunges. But my advice might not work for you if you have some underlying issues I'm not aware of. Keep that in mind. For those of you who constantly resort to your hands during lunges, I would encourage you to do the following.
Position yourself near something solid you can grab, like a bar. Given that the bar cannot travel with you, you are going to do a stationary and easier variation of the same exercise, reverse lunges. Additionally, I would urge you to keep your arms dynamically engaged to minimize the need for cheating. In fact, by using your arms in a running-like fashion, you are going to use your own body weight to counterbalance the lack of mass on the opposite side. This is going to require some coordination on your part, of course, but it will help you a ton once you get the hang of it.
By introducing these tweaks, many of you will see the total number of reps you can do collapse. That's where the bar nearby comes into play.
Once there are clear signs of instability, you would want to place the palm of your hand gently onto the bar and continue the set. Essentially, we are not letting the stabilization be the limiting factor during lunges. Your stabilization capacity has run its course in the first bit, alright, but your muscles can keep working for longer. With the assistance of the bar now, you can continue to challenge the strength aspect of the movement and thus get better and faster adaptations at a muscular level.
In other words, not only will you get stronger legs and glutes, but also a functional core that doesn't flake on you whenever you perform complex movements. Not to mention the coordination aspects of being able to move opposing legs and arms simultaneously, which is exactly what we do when we run.
In sum, I recommend using sets that would be divided into two distinct phases. The first is more encompassing due to the different skills you can train simultaneously: strength, stabilization, and coordination. Whereas the second phase is for the athlete to focus entirely in the strength/muscular aspect of the exercise. Many people never tap into the latter because they let stabilization dictate the extent to which they can push a set. This strategy is a way to circumvent your previous limiting factor while you get to work everything in a single set. There are many ways you can progress this lunge style. You can start with X reps in the first phase, followed by double that number in the subsequent one. You can gradually work your way up in the first bar until you reach specific target, or you could repeat the same progression scheme but with non-alternating lunges. By the time you finish a full block of training focusing on this movement, you'll likely have a much easier time doing the classic forward walking lunges.
If you found value in today's video, you're probably going to like this too. If you want to show me some appreciation, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to click on the bell to get notified every time a new video goes live. Stay fit, stay strong, peace.